Hello, everyone. Today we are here with Mr. Frank-Andreas Hatzack, and he has done his PhD, and he is currently working as a senior advisor in Copenhagen Institute of Future Studies. We are here in Five Pointers. Five Pointers is a scientific knowledge capture platform where we talk about news and views regarding five different important segments in life sciences. And that is food, agriculture, sustainability, healthcare, and biotechnology. And to talk more on this today, Frank will be talking to us on future trends and what are the innovation holds for us from a very macro perspective and from an international perspective. So, Frank, please introduce yourself in a slightly detailed manner about your candidature and so how are things at Denmark? Please also tell us in this COVID time. And over to you, Frank.
Yeah, thank you so much, Arnab. It's a pleasure to be talking here in this forum. And as Arnab has been saying, I am a advisor at the Copenhagen Institute for Futures Studies, senior advisor. And I have, before I joined the institute 3 years ago, I had a long career in the biotech company Novozymes, where I worked with innovation for around 10 years. And then I had stints in other parts of the company too, among them also being working in the Indian market. So I know at least some parts of India quite well. So it's a pleasure to be with you here today. And it's true what Arnab says, I have a PhD in biochemistry. I'm not a food scientist as such, but through my work in Novozymes and through the work at the Institute, I had ample experience and ample exposure to the food sector and the innovation that is going on in the food sector. And at the Copenhagen Institute, we regularly work with clients in the agri-food sector. So this is a very vivid and vibrant area of economic activity, change and innovation. And as you said, Arnab, it really what you're also doing, you guys at Five Pointers, it really ties well in the big themes of biotechnology and healthcare and sustainability. So and the two other ones you said. So that makes food so super interesting and also very complex.
Absolutely. And how is COVID treating the Danish guys out there?
Oh, thank you. We're doing good. We did well. I think when we compare it to I think really the rest of the world, and also I'm really following this regularly how the situation develops in India. We have been doing very well. Thank you. Really, we really went early into a lockdown. And Danish society also showed a great degree of being consistent and staying together in this and through this, and we got a handle on it very quickly, and there was almost nothing during the summer months, but now it's resurging in terms of infections. There's many infections that is rising, though it seems now to be under control. But luckily, so far, we haven't seen that many people admitted to the hospital, but people are very careful, obviously, and take it very seriously.
Nice. And tell me, before we go deep into our today's topic, how Novozymes has shaped you as a professional, because now you are not in Novozymes, but the rich experience that you have got, how it has really helped you now as a startup guy, I'll say.
Oh, very much so. Very much so. It has been a huge shaper of my career in many different ways. Because during the long time I was in Novozymes, I had ample opportunity to touch different technologies, but also the commercial side of things and different different sectors. So all the way from agro to food to household care. So I had a pretty holistic picture on how biotechnology is shaping and driving innovation in all these fields. And yeah, finally for me, the you know, when you work with innovation, it's kind of really hard to ignore the future, right? And the future is always a part of our everyday life. I guess at startups, as entrepreneurs, we are all extremely future oriented. And I actually then made my hobby, which was future studies, to my new job. And by the way, then Anap, the Copenhagen Institute that I work with today is so I have 25 colleagues, and this is actually an institute which has been around for 50 years. So this is one of the I think, yeah,
One of the
well-renowned
oldest, along with
bases.
the DTU, Danish Technical University.
No, it has been founded back in 1969 as an completely independent, politically independent and financially independent institute, which is financing itself out
Okay.
of the members' fees that we receive, our publications, and the consultancy work we're doing. So we're completely independent. And I know it's the name institute, which may lead people to believe that we are associated with an university or so,
Yeah.
but that is not the case. We're completely independent.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Nice. So, Frank, let us start today's topic, and we would like to hear, our viewers would like to hear an international perspective. And just to tell you that the main idea of 5 pointers is to uh, convert a news to knowledge, and we are trying to cater to the masses, to the general public who are not from the science background. But
Mm.
currently we have more than 28,000 people reach, more than 7,000 followers across social media, and we are trying to sensitize the whole community that how life sciences industry is impacting you each and every day, whether you are from a IT sector, whether you're from any political sector, whether you're from a media line or showbiz business. Every day, so the life sciences industry is really helping you to live the next day. So this is our main thing. So maybe the followers may not be that too scientific. Okay, but what we are trying to do is how to explain the science in a layman language so that they get hooked up to the life sciences institute, the streams, and maybe tomorrow their children, they can pave way or they can find a job in the life sciences sector. It need not be only an MBA or a commerce sector which attracts the best of the talent. I want to create through 5 pointers how to glamorize the life sciences industries. So that's the main idea. So maybe through your presentation, you can work on that, and
Yes.
our
No, I
viewers
got
will
you.
like to hear your perspective. So maybe you
Got
can
you. Yeah.
share your screen, Frank, and
Yes.
let us
Yes.
start.
But yes, Arnab, that is I think a very good and strong and a vision which is worth applauding, and I think I can speak to that certainly.
Yeah.
So if I could just share what I have brought with me in terms of a couple of slides.
Great.
Yeah, okay, so you can see the screen, I think. So what the Institute really wants to do is to equip us to make the right decisions for the future. So and when we say decision makers, we really mean this broadly. This is the individual citizen all the way up to the heads of states and the CEOs of companies.
Okay.
Okay, so As I said, we've been founded in '69, and we are independent. We are non-profit. We are members-based think tank, and we have a variety of services within consultancy and analysis, courses and lectures as well, and publications. We are also working on, let's say it like this, digital formats which reach far beyond Copenhagen, obviously. So maybe also some of your followers might be interested. So we're working on new formats.
Yeah.
What we specialize in is future scenarios and megatrends, and I will speak to that in a second. And also innovation and risk. And we cover quite a lot of domains. It's health, environment, urbanization, mobility, industries, and different sectors as well, geopolitics and economy. And we can do so because we're 25 colleagues who, many of us have careers behind them in multinational companies coming from the area of marketing, economics, finance. We also have a psychologist and an historian. So we are very, very multidisciplinary, and that enables us to do this future-related work and future studies.
Are you also working with big international organizations like WHO, UNESCO, UNICEF, like that?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. That is true. For example, we are the UNESCO chair of futures literacy in Denmark. So the UNESCO has an arm, has a branch that works with futures literacy. And what does that mean? It does mean a methodological, a methods approach on how can you work with the future in order to guide your strategy and in order to create better organizations that are more future savvy. So absolutely. We also work with the World Economic Forum. We work with the UNDP. And so it is quite a lot of very big global NGOs that we work together with. However, that's only, I would say, one segment of our partners and clients, and the other segments would be multinationals from the private sector, from transportation, from the food area, from the chemicals area, and also we have the public sector proper. So this could be governments, it could be governmental agencies, and minister's office, and it's not only Danish. It's for example also including the Prime Minister's office of the United Arab Emirates, for example, is one of the offices and agencies we had the honor to work for. So it's quite international.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah. Okay. So that's about us. Really, here is an example of trends shaping the food industry. This is a recent project that we have conducted with Barilla, which you probably know, a producer of pasta and ready-to-use sauces. And I think this is really an international, well-known brand, and I'm sure you can also purchase their products in Indian supermarkets. And the thing was with the Barilla project is to look at the new food trends and that influence really the future of the food industry, and to shed some light on the key shifts that are driving the change in the food industries, and look at the trends, and then from the key findings, then Barilla would then work into an innovation, into different innovation directions within their categories. And I cannot go, of course, into the detail here. But just to say that some of the focus areas really, again, was the sustainability aspect, of course. Then the question, how is food retail changing? And then the super important aspect of cultural signature foods, how a multinational player also must cater to regional and local culture. Future consumer demands, because as our life is changing as citizens of the modern age, also the way how we consume food, how we purchase food, how we prepare food, is changing very much. And the last part is future food formats. Is so important, because how you consume foods, the setting, the way of preparations, the format that you keep it in is so important. Just to say one thing, there is a very big global trend towards miniature formats. So it's smaller formats, more ready to consume, easy to consume, pre-made smaller formats of food. That is
Like when
going
you say
through the
smaller formats, that means instead of 100 gram packed food, it has to be now 20 gram or 30 gram, a small
yes,
size.
yes, yes. You have the small sizes, and you would also have, for example, ready meals that are coming into a small format, sort of for microwave preparation or cooking, or a small set where certain raw ingredients are pre-assorted, pre-lotted, and then pre-packed, and are being sold not only in the supermarket where we buy it for family consumption, but in at your 24/7 grocery, small grocery store, where you
Yeah.
just kind of buy it over the counter and you go home. So this is very much connected to urban lifestyle, where we work at odd hours. Usually also have lots of commuting to do, and we need to pick up something. And it's also connected to the trend again of single household living, or single household lifestyles that are very prominent in some of the highly industrialized countries. And that is not only Western societies, but it's also, for example, Japan. It's also South Korea. And we also see this trend in some of the Chinese megacities. I'm not so sure what's actually going on in, for example, Mumbai or some of the other megacities in India. But I would assume that to a certain extent that also plays a role there.
Yeah, definitely. In India
Definitely.
also, especially in the 4 metros or 5 metros that we have in India, metro cities. So we see
Yes.
lot of nuclear families where a husband, wife with 2 children, they are living alone. Both the parents are working, and as the result, everything they need is the convenience angle. Yeah, so definitely the convenience is a very big factor in today's the trend that we are seeing. Yeah, and
Yes.
sometimes what
Yes.
is happening is because there are also slight fallacies of providing over convenience to the consumer. So some of the trends that we are also seeing, that some of the food format are providing over convenience to the consumer, which is not required, not the need of the hour. So Frank, I'll ask one question here is, when you say the future of the food industry, so are you taking a horizon of 5 years, 10 years, or till 2050 or 2040? When you say future, so what do you mean by future? Can you
Yes.
define your future?
Yes, that is a very good question. That is a very necessary question. I should have said it in the start. We look more at long-term futures, and we look at megatrends. So we look more what will happen in 5 years plus, actually, because there are other, I would say, houses and players who are more forecasters. They look more, okay, what is happening in the next quarter, what is happening in the next year, 2-3 years, maybe. We look beyond them. We look beyond that and try to um, reflect on the mega trends and the big changes in the world, and derive some insight. How could the long-term future of food look like? But in fact, a lot of what we are talking about and what we are analyzing is already happening today. As you
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
it's not disconnected from what is happening today. Of course, it's not. But the time horizon that we look at is more long term, medium and long term.
Okay, nice, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let us go to the next slide and
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good points, actually, because that really brings us to the question: how do we do this? How do we come up with pictures of the future which are medium term, long term? And there is many different ways to doing this, and there's not one way which is more right or than the other. However, I would say our signature dish or signature approach of how we do it is that we start the conversation with looking at the what we call the global megatrends that you have on this slide here. And we work with these 14 slides, okay? And just to give you an explanation from or a quick walkthrough, I will start with the first one, which is demographic development. So demographic development is so super important because it drives and shapes our reality, regardless where we are in the world in one way or the other, right? I mean, we are moving into a world where it's soon we're going to be 8 billion, and then in we're going to be 9 billion.
Yeah.
In a couple of decades from now on. So it's the growth of the population. And of course, when you are, for example, living in India and some of the very, very population-rich states of India, of course, you know what that means. So that's one aspect of demographic development, is the growth of the population, but it's not the only one, because the other one is also, for example, where does this population live? So we're talking about urbanization, we're talking about urban lifestyles around the world. And we also talk about aspects, as I mentioned before, the change in family structures, the tendency towards smaller families or even single household situations that we have in some of the big metropolises of the world. Okay.
Yeah.
So when we look at economic growth, of course, that is a super important driver of the world, and we look at GDP and different levels. What is important, of course, for us to also to contemplate on a global level is that the center of gravity of economic growth is moving to the east. It's moving to Asia in a much stronger way. So it's definitely and of course India with its huge population also is not to be ignored. So we have hundreds of millions of people who have arrived in middle class actually in Asia, who are driving global consumption, right? So, and that goes directly into what we're discussing today. What do these people eat, right?
Absolutely.
Globalization, as you know, without globalization, I think half of the supermarkets in Europe would be empty, because a lot of our food items are, of course, being transported around the world. The average number of kilometers that a food item is traveling in a Danish supermarket is 1,500 kilometers. Okay.
Oh
so
my
that,
God.
that yes, so that is a very different, I think, situation as in India, as I understand it. The Indian food system is more geared that more what you consume and buy as food items is more locally produced or regionally produced, and not globally produced, right?
Yeah. I think this is a very important aspect what you have told just now. Sustainability is going for a toss if such a thing is happening in the global scenario.
Absolutely, and that really brings us to sustainability, because is a food system where the average item travels 1,500 kilometers, is that sustainable, right? So that's another thing here, right? Sustainability is another mega trend, and sustainability needs to be seen in the context of climate change and environmental destruction and loss of biodiversity. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then focus on health is so super important, because as we are becoming an aging society, as our health status and is improving, and that also goes for the poorer countries. It's not only in the rich countries that life expectancy are increasing. We also not only want to live longer, we also want to live healthier. And that's where food again comes in. It's such an important part of that. It's healthy food and the nutrition that allows you to live not only a longer life, but also a healthier life. And a lot of science is going into that, right? And what is happening these days is, I think, is that the borders between nutrition and health are blurring. right? So
Yeah.
it's about, because there's a whole science behind it, and a lot of innovation is going into this direction of understanding how does food contribute to make us more healthy humans. And there is a lot of study, as you of course know, that involves the role of microbes in that. So we're talking about how do microbes that we take up through the consumption of food items, for example, through fermented foods, how do they make us more healthy?
Yeah.
That is
So
super important.
here mainly you're talking about the probiotic microbes and the prebiotic fiber, as well as the gut microbiome. So these are the three main, I guess.
Yes, exactly. That is so important. And I think here in this area, we are going to see so much innovation in the coming years. And why is that? There is a number of factors which are involved. One is that the biotechnology to understand these interactions is becoming better and better. And the second is that there is the computer power and the algorithms which are needed to understand genetic data that are
Mm.
coming from the sequencing of the microbes and of the probiotics and the microbes that we have in our body, that has been becoming so powerful, so that
Yeah.
we can understand these omics interactions, on also how they're called, much better.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. And we have seen both of us are ex-Zymers, and we know the
Yes.
how the tool was working in the decoding each and every microbe and doing high throughput screening and so many things. Now it is very like the technology has advanced in last 10 years, I feel. Uh, uh,
Yes, and the costs, for example, to sequence an entire human genome, right? They have come down to what, to like $10 or something. I mean, or it's not far away. I mean, this is the money we're talking about to sequence an entire human genome. So this is just mind-boggling, and this is just so powerful, and it will allow us to understand much better how nutrition and how our ways of living do synergize and interact, and what is necessary. And this will be done most likely on a personal level. So it's going to be, a genetic analysis of you, Arnab, on that is kind of telling that you are compatible with certain foods and
yeah,
certain microbes and not with other ones. So,
yeah,
and this is something which is, sounds a little bit futuristic, but in fact, it's probably not. It's probably not that many years
yeah.
around the corner. Of course, you never know, but it's based on the rapid progress of these technologies. I think that scenario seems very plausible.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. And then commercialization. Well, this is just saying that everything has a price tag. Even some commodities like clean water, clean air, and so on and so forth. And I think also when you live in some of the Indian metropolises, you know what that means. You know how commercialized not only the items are that you buy, but also access to a clean environment and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
So that's the one aspect of commercialization. The other one is that we see in these years a handful of tech giants who are controlling the commercialization of entire value chains and commercial ecosystems, that are controlling, because they control all the data behind that. They're also starting to control these ecosystems, and these are the likes, of course, of Amazon and Alibaba and Facebook and Apple, who are showing how this is done, right? So, and this has a lot of good in it, but also some, of course, some challenges, right? Okay, let's move to the next. When we talk
yeah,
about democratization as a megatrend, we know not only mean democracy as a political system, but we also mean the democratized access to information through, for example, social media and the digital tools that we have. And also that basically everybody today has a voice, right? unless you live in a regime which actually takes that away from you. But for many, many, many people on the planet, this is the case. The other thing is also that it's the democratized access to technology, because a lot of high-tech digital technologies, sensors, chips, software has become so low cost that a huge amount of people has access to them and actually can start to be a startup and an entrepreneur. So that is also a way of looking at democratization. And then looking at network society, obviously that has to do a lot with social media and the digital tools that we have, and how we influence and how we share knowledge. Immaterialization is something about, well, in the old days, it was about raw materials, then it was about commodities, then it was about products. Today it is about brands, and there's a lot of people saying that the age of brands is actually on the way out, and we are talking now about experiences and values, and the experience and values are driving consumer decisions. So that's an important thing. And in relation to food, these immaterial values, the experience of preparing, not only preparing, this purchasing, the preparation and the consumption process are so extremely important, aren't they, right?
So are you seeing some virtualization happening of the experiential drivers to purchase a food product? Like, how is the virtual reality, VR, and the AI is means influencing our decision making in the food?
Yes, that's the one thing, the technological aspect of it. The other aspect is more how it's being marketed in general. Is that, you know, the consumption of a certain food item, right? That it's not only about the product or the brand, but about what kind of experience does it give to me? Which kind of experience am I sharing? To give you an example, and this is a lot of marketing. There's a lot of marketing here, but to give you an example, you of course know the Dutch beer brand Heineken.
Yeah.
And Heineken's marketing it's not about the beer. What they market and what they talk about when they talk about the beer is the experience of friendship and the experience of sharing a good time together with others. So that's the experiential part. This is what it is they talk about in their marketing. And so by buying a Heineken beer, you are becoming kind of part of that experience. Yeah. So it's much more about what does the purchase of a certain food item enable me to become part of something bigger,
yeah.
Right? Yeah, so it's very much a societal trend. There's a lot of marketing in this, and that drives modern consumer behavior in many instances.
That's a very important point. And sometimes, you know, all these points what you are telling till now, everything is happening in our marketing and the business angle. But what you are very nicely you're putting out in this slide is the each and every nuances where some get camouflaged within the bigger jargons of the business. But what you are doing is segmentation of all this nuances, which sometimes the layman is not able to understand.
Yes, that is a good way to put it, because as you start segmenting, you can start to ask the question, which of these trends is most important for you or your company or your product or your organization, right?
Yeah.
And then you start to put these things into connection with each other. For example, as I said, for example, when we look at individualization, right, that we put more importance upon us and living a life where it's about me and my career and my happiness, that is kind of really connected to this aspect of the demographic development that we have been talking about single person households and smaller families. So things are connected, right? And we also, for example, know that as we have discussed before, health is connected with demographics, and sustainability is connected with economic growth, and so on. So all these trends are connected, and what you do in your research, and when we work with cases and clients and customers, is to look at, okay, maybe I should show the next slide, because here's actually what I did say. Okay, if we say this is about the future of food, then we need to ask which of these trends is most impactful with regards to the future of food, and how are they connected, right? Mm-hmm. And this is some of the color groupings that I've tried to do here, and that is then really interesting, because then maybe for your company, or what you're trying to do for your future, then only maybe a couple of these are very, very important, and maybe the others to a lesser extent.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So tell us something about the individualization and polarization. We were in that.
Yes. Individualization, we just touched upon. It's traditionally we lived in larger family structures. We tend to live in smaller family structures, or even as single persons in modern industrialized and urbanized life. Polarization is this phenomenon that, unfortunately, the rich are getting richer and richer, and the poor are getting poorer and poorer. And this is something which unfortunately can be measured and documented very well, and that the gap between rich and poor is widening around the world. And it's not only the gap between rich and poor, it's also the gap between people having access to good education and not having access to good health system and healthcare, and not having access, or having access to a clean environment or not having access. Unfortunately, this gap is widening, and this is actually measured. There is a combined index, a number that measures that, and that is called Gini index, and that this Gini or Gini coefficient, and this one is unfortunately increasing in many countries of the world. So
how do you spell Gini?
I don't know, Arnab, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Is it G-I? Oh, we need to Google this. Maybe we should.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll do that.
It's really something that is measured and reported.
Here, I would like to add one more point. I feel the widening of the gap between the rich and the poor is going to go to a very, like, if it is like 99% are poor, 1% is rich, it is going to go towards 99.9% are poor, and 0.1 is going to be the rich. So this is not going to have a backward trend. And I feel the main reason for all this is because the intellectual angle or the knowledge base is not democratized. Okay, because let's say if a person in India is living in a rural village, okay, he doesn't understand the city life of India, and he will not even understand that a country like Denmark exists in the world. He will only would have heard about USA, America. In India, for everything is America. White skin is all American. Okay, so unless that guy in a rural India is given a thorough education, is given an exposure, how the world looks like, what are the opportunities are there. So if he does not get that type of grooming in the initial part of his first 20 years of life, he will continue with his whatever mannerisms he has picked over from his family. So I feel that unless you are giving the knowledge, unless you are giving them the exposure, so they are not going to, someday they will not become a Bill Clinton, they will not become a Abdul Kalam anytime. So I think that here is the issue, where only 1 or 2% of the business family is controlling the whole world, which I think it is not correct. There has to be some sort of collective way they have to democratize some of their, because maybe they are very fortunate in their initial that they have the backing, money backing, and they could get a very good education from Harvard, Stanford, but not everyone would be so much fortunate. So I feel if do you see any sort of disruption happening where the bottom 99% are also can they become wealthy in
Yes,
future?
I think there is. Yes, I think first of all, I agree with your observations, and but also let me state that it's not all bad news, because what is also happening is I think two things. One, again, what we talked about before, democratization is even if you are in a remote village in Uttar Pradesh, there will be internet access. You probably own a mobile phone. Maybe you even own a smartphone. So there is millions and millions of people who are poor or impoverished, yes, but they are maybe not excluded from the digital community. And they, in principle, the access to data, the access to knowledge, the access to education is becoming more easy, and this gives us hope. And also there is this sustainable development goal framework of the United Nations, which actually has made it a global goal to say that we want to raise education levels as much as we want to raise environmental levels and health levels, and as much as we want to feed the world, that this also becomes a part of that. So yes, there is extreme polarization, and it's very powerful and lamentable. On the other hand, there is also, I think, very much hope and hope instilling technological change going on, and programs going on that are improving things. So I think it's a mixed picture.
Okay, mixed
And there is
picture.
reason to, yeah, it's a mix. I mean, and there is reason to hope.
And there is a uncertainty also for the future. What do you see?
A huge uncertainty, a
Huge
huge
uncertainty.
uncertainty.
But
Exactly.
if all this acceleration and complexity, what do you see the today's world is more complex, or the future is going to be more complex? Coming back to your next point. Yeah.
Yes, yes. We would expect that the future is even more fast-paced and even more complex. And why is that? Again, the major driver behind this is technology. It's the exchange of data and the possibility for many of us to participate in a digital life, to have access to a large spectrum of data streams and data input. And that creates a lot of complexity also in modern life. I mean, modern life, especially in an urban setting, we need to do many tasks in one day, right? However, there is also, I think, a good message here, and that's the one that as technology is progressing, a lot of the digital services and a lot of the logistics services and the other services that we are using in modern life are being put on autopilot machines. They are being solved by artificial intelligence, so we don't have to bother. And that will free up extra time for us to contemplate, okay, how can we innovate? How can we make a relationship better between a buyer and a supplier, for example? How can we make the world a better place? How can we improve our organizations? How can we, the freeing up time for creative thinking and for education. So I think that also plays along here as a polarity. Yes, definitely.
That's a very important point.
Yeah, and then the last one in blue, of course, technological development, I would say is the master mega trend of all of them, because a lot of the change that we see in the world today, be it in terms of economic growth or being in terms of climate change or so, it goes back to technological change, which then triggers change in the way we produce things and how we change and impact the world through through the industrial age. And of course, technological development is only possible if there is a knowledge society, if we know, if we are educated, if we have the knowledge to improve technology and to to drive on the progress. So technological development and knowledge society are, of course, very, very strongly and of course, when we look at food and food production and how food is reaching us, technology is super important. And also the knowledge about food, of course, both are absolutely super important.
Absolutely. Yeah. These are nice points, and this is how the future is here today. Some of the glimpses of the future we are seeing it happening now, and definitely the things will be even evolving. We don't know whether it is going to evolve in a better way or in a worse, but definitely things will not stay constant. What we have today, things will change over a period of 5 years, 10 years. Global leaders are talking about 2030. Some are even talking about 2050 now, with respect to the plant food, what is coming as a very big mega trend, because the food that we are eating today is definitely impacting the climate, and how as a food community we can at least contribute our way towards the climate. Because just imagine if the Antarctica melts, and which is the temperature is rising almost like 0.5 degree every year. If those ice sheets melts, then the whole world will be underwater. So
yeah,
so I think it's not very far. It's just 100 years from now, if you do a simple maths of 0.5 degree into 100 years, that is 50 degree temperature rise. And if the Alaska and the Antarctica are at the temperature of -30 and -40, so once it reaches even 5 degree temperature in Antarctica, then the whole water melts.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean these are mind-boggling prospects, and they are extremely concerning and alarming, and these are very, very big uncertainties and very big headaches for humanity. And it's true because we know that the agricultural, the agro-food sector is responsible for, I forgot exactly the number, and I think also the numbers are depending on whom you ask and what study you're looking at, but it is around 25 to 30% of the global greenhouse gas emissions that are warming up the planet are coming from agriculture and are coming from the production of food and also. Yes, so our agro-food system is a major contributor to global warming, and something needs to be changing. And it's, again, the good news is that a lot is changing already. There is a big shift going on in shifting from animal protein, meaning meat, and going to vegetable protein based foods, and that has a lot of innovation in it. A lot of things are happening to improve the nutritional quality of vegetable proteins and to create new, better, healthier, and more sustainable food items. So this is something which is actually happening very quickly, and some of the most interesting unicorn companies from Silicon Valley are in the area of plant food innovations, right? So it's impeccable meat, and it's
beyond burgers and
all that. So this is definitely going on, right? But it also has to be a I mean, it's of course it's encouraging to see that, but it also needs to be a change and a shift on a global scale, on a mass scale, that we shift over to more plant-based diets. And in this respect, I think it's extremely interesting to look, for example, to look at India and say like most of Indian food consumptions, always traditional for large parts of the population, have been vegetable based and vegetable. Look at the lentils and look at the peas and and all that has always been like that, right? And that's why I think in connection to what India has to contribute to this is such a vast amount of knowledge and tradition and experience on how to work with plant-based proteins and vegetable proteins and how to bring into play varied nutrition and healthy nutrition, because it's something which is ingrained in the culture and it has been part of study at Indian universities for forever. Right?
Yeah, definitely. And one of the organization, which is an international organization, that's a Good Food Institute, GFI. So they have offices across different countries and almost many continents. So the Indian part of that is being headed by Mr. Deshpande, Varun Deshpande, and these guys are really creating a ecosystem which is missing for the startups or even for the MNCs to think of innovating from the food science and how to mimic meat, how to mimic mutton or fish, seafood, or milk, or any other animal-based product. They are doing a tremendous job, and their team is doing a tremendous job in building up the ecosystem. Because let's say today I have a startup, and if I bring a product, plant-based meat, in the market, if I don't get the ecosystem support, right from the funding till the retailers, till the dining restaurants, till the consumers, if the whole ecosystem is not there, but we are ready with the technology, so it is not going to help us, because we would have done a lot of investment by now. But if there is no takers, then it is a difficult. And the existing business, end of the day, when we are saying a plant-based food, then it is going to disrupt the meat industry, the animal food industry. It may not coexist like a 5% and a 95%. It may go towards 40 and 60. So the idea, so they are playing a vital role, not just from the ecosystem development, they are also playing a vital role in also licensing with the government. I guess your institute can collaborate because I see both your visions are similar in some of the sustainability aspect. I'm not sure whether, are you guys interacting with GFI, Good Food Institute?
No, we're not, but we might, because as you say, that there seems to be, I think, some alignment here on the fundamental issue that if one wants to have a change towards a more vegetable oriented diet, then the whole ecosystem needs to support that, and you need to solve some very fundamental challenges here, and somebody needs to step in and help and provide a systemic approach to this. So this is absolutely important.
And more the collaboration happens, Frank, across different geographies and different cultures, because here, like, there's only two culture, like rich and poor, fortunate and the less fortunate. That's the world is divided into these two things. But if we can, like today, I'm talking from Bangalore, India, you're talking from Copenhagen, Denmark. So there is a cross-culture exchange, which is immensely important in today's world. And that what Novozymes has taught us, being learn from different culture, the way of thinking, the way of Indian thinking is quite different from a Danish thinking, and Danish thinking is quite different from American thinking. But we are all going towards the same goal. That's the better future. Everyone is looking for a better future, and everyone is worried about the future. So
yes, I fully agree. I couldn't have put it myself in a better way. Yes, everyone wants a better future, isn't that? That's very true. And I think Yes, as you said, so it's really important to have these bottom-up grassroots initiatives and grassroots innovation from everywhere in the world. And you need the ecosystem support. That's true. It's also true that many of the very big multinationals are actually looking at, okay, what's going on around us, you know, because they don't want to miss the bandwagon, right? They are in fear of missing out and being disrupted and becoming obsolete. So right now we're having discussions with a very big multinational chemical and life science companies from Germany who are very interested in getting a better understanding of innovation in food as a social innovation phenomenon, something that starts globally, something that is culturally linked, something which is happening all around us. And if you don't take this big picture into account, you may lose out on some very, very unique opportunities. And uh,
That's a
even,
message, I guess,
yeah,
from you to the
yes,
MNCs, that it's
yes,
important that they collaborate with the very international institute and your organization. There's the future studies. And, you know, I guess the name is so unique. So whoever is the founder of your organization, he had envisioned in 1968, 69 that 100 years from now, the world will be like that.
um,
So
indeed. Indeed. I mean, by the way, the guy our founder was the first general secretary of the OECD,
okay.
and a Dane by the name of Torkel Christensen. And his idea is really to create this institute as a contribution to society in Denmark and beyond Denmark, to create it as a capability in the members-based organizations to enable better futures, right? So, and in this way, not leaving anyone out, it's not only for industry, it's also for the public sector. It's also for the NGOs, it's for Danes, but it's also for non-Danes. So it is international and it is global in this respect. And this has been a very far-sighted idea, which actually, as an institute, also really made it through 50 years and is still around. So, yes,
Nice.
it's a good thing. Yes.
So, Frank, do you have any other slides, or can we wrap?
No, not really. We could leave it, I think, here. Yes, of course, I have plenty of slides, but I think we are in a very, very good place
Sure,
right now.
sure. So, so coming back to the end of this talk today, how do you see India and Denmark collaborating in the life sciences space in coming future? And what are your opinions, especially from a consulting group like yours? So, are you also actively looking to get clients from Indian ecosystem or the Asian ecosystem, Southeast Asian ecosystem, or what type of future? Because see, I have worked in Novozymes and I've been in Denmark 4 or 5 times. So the what I really liked about Denmark is the people. Okay, you guys are very straightforward, very truthful, and which is slightly a cultural amalgamation with the Indians as well, because we
Mhm.
Indians are very much looking from the truthful angle, because somewhere or the other the education system in your country is far ahead than India. Because I what stats I have read, that there's a huge percentage of people who are doing tertiary education, that's the PhD level. Okay, so you guys are very much focused on the healthcare and education system for your future generation, and that's why very ethically strong the Danish people, at least I have encountered with in my stint with Novozymes. So we really would like to work, both the countries would like to work with each other, and I guess both the embassies are really in close collaborations. In Facebook, we see some of the Facebook Live happening from our Indian embassy in Copenhagen, or our Danish embassy in New Delhi or so. So definitely both the countries are talking to each other. But
Yes.
from your perspective, as a scientist or a biotechnologist, how do you see the future, where we can head towards?
Yes, very good questions and very good perspectives, Arnab, and very good observations on your side. And there are so many ways of answering the question, but I think when you look at Danish-Indian relations, there have been positive and increasingly positive and very getting closer and investing into each other's countries. This is definitely something that is ongoing. For example, Novozymes, one of the Danish companies, investing into India, building its presence in India, increasing that not only in Bangalore but also in Mumbai. Definitely growing. And I'm sure that there is quite another number of Danish companies which are on the same path. And also the other way around, when you look at in Greater Copenhagen, there is so many Indians who are working, of course, who are working for Tata, who are working for Reliance, for the big Indian consultants and IT and engineering companies. So definitely, I think when you look at India and Denmark, and I also think to a larger extent also India and Europe, these are still economic powerhouses in the world, which are on a path of collaboration and fruitful exchange, right? So we don't have frictions, we don't have tariffs or economical borders between our countries. There is nothing of all the hassle that is kind of, negatively impacting the relationship, for example, between China and the US. There's a lot of friction, a lot of tariffs, and a lot of conflict. It's not there, or let's say like this, it's the minor things which are maybe a little bit of a problem, but by and large, India and Europe and India and Denmark are on a very good collaboration, good collaboration track for a mutual benefit, and that has many reasons, of course. And I definitely would like to see that continuing, and it has been continuing and growing through all my times in Novozymes. And right now, there seems to be no looming danger that it could stop, but there seems to be ample opportunity that it will intensify and continue, because there are so many synergies. There are so many strong synergies.
And I think, Frank, one very important, the future of the food, when we are talking about the future of the food, one thing which India has, which the whole world does not have that much, is the power of millets. Millets are a different type of nutri-cereals, what we call in India. They are very low glycemic index. You don't require that much of water to grow them. And also it is you can grow even without any other pesticides or agrochemical. Okay, so it is solving 3-4 purposes: sustainability, the health aspect, the taste aspect, and also the overall angle of how to live better for future. So maybe in future, I see that a lot of Danish companies, including millets, there are 16 different types of millets. However, only 2 or 3 getting prominence, like sorghum and few other millets, little millet and other stuff. But I see that there is a diversity of the millets which the whole world can partner with India, because of our different agroclimatic zone, and it is so rich in so many agroclimatic zones. So I think India is blessed with that, and India has to exploit that agroclimatic zone. The whole length and breadth of India is having, I guess, more than 6 agroclimatic zones. So So this is very interesting. And diabetes, the whole world is fighting against diabetes and cardiovascular diseases. So definitely millet can be a very great solution. Like
Right.
in India, last 10 years, quinoa and oats has come in a big way. It has caught the imagination of people. Similar way, what I see that there are so many diverse millets, and incidentally our startup is virtually incubated in NutriHub. That's an incubation center in Indian Institute of Millet Research in Hyderabad, IIMR. And we are collaborating with various millet communities, and we are trying to grow it big, because the main cereal community which is there is for the paddy as and the wheat and the corn, but there is much more than these three big
Yes.
crops. So
Yes.
definitely, maybe in your some of your studies or collaborations, you can tell to your client that millets is the future, and definitely in India we are going to support the whole world on the millets.
I will do that, and that's a very interesting perspective. I mean, this is exactly, I think, what international collaboration should be about. And because the interesting thing here is also that okay, see, okay, the world may not be fully aware of the potential and the benefits of Indian millet expertise and the presence of this varied food item and type. Um, and this brings me actually back to something you said before, Arnab, and this was about, look, I think the future of food or what needs to be happening in terms of innovation of food is it's not only about food solutions that emulate a meat experience, but food solutions that create a new experience and bring new benefits, which are just great in their own right, right? Because they contribute something which is fantastic. So maybe maybe it's more about, looking at future potentials, which are by forgetting the old world, but forget that it's the point is not simulating or emulating meat production, but it's about creating a better future through more sustainable, more healthy foods, and tapping into the fantastic potential of, for example, millets and other food items that the world maybe just needs just a higher amount of awareness. So I fully applaud that. Yeah.
Sure, sure. So here we come to the end of today's talk show with Dr. Frank, and we would like to really thank you, Frank, for taking some time for our viewers, and hopefully we'll see a lot of collaborative talks and maybe some future projects with your company as well as with you. And guys, I would like to share one anecdote. In I think around 8 years ago, we were running some internal campaign in Novozymes, and it was an online collaborative platform in Novozymes, and Frank was heading that aspect. And one of the important thing, it got covered by the Indian media, and both our names came in the newspaper, and we were so happy to see our names. And Frank, do you remember that 8 years ago
Yes,
somewhere?
yes, of course. That was the Times of India.
Yeah, Times
Uh,
of India. Yeah.
yes, yeah,
and
yeah, 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 yeah. I remember.
Frank, you were my go-to person for Denmark. Whenever I had some issues or I was getting frustrated with the innovation not happening, this
Yes.
and that, so you were my mentor out there. And I had a lot of very nice experiences, whatever projects that we have worked, especially remember the RIC projects, Radical Innovation
Yes,
Catalyst.
indeed,
And you
indeed.
ran it so nicely as a like a central nodal point. And It was amazing working with you, and it is also amazing to hear you and your experience and your thought process in today 5 pointers. And hopefully this media channel, we can grow big and big. Maybe you can give a last parting message in your Danish language about the 5 pointers, so that we may also
Okay.
grab some of your Danish colleagues.
Okay. Okay, I'll do that. But Arnab, thank you so much. It has been a super good experience, and also I'm very grateful that you kind of remind me of the old times. And it's true, I had half forgotten that, but that's true. It was great times, and there will be great times ahead. So the only thing I want to say, thank you in Danish, and
Tak.
all the best for 5 Pounder. Så rigtig mange tak for i dag, og det var super dejligt at være med på dit program, Arnab, og jeg ønsker jer held og lykke, og jeg håber, at vi snakker snart igen, du. Okay? So thank you, Arnab.
Thank you, Frank, and it was lovely talking to you.
Same here, and yeah, we'll be in touch. Cheers.